Hello Homeworthy, I'm Molly Hogg, welcome to my home in London.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Molly Hogg and you're here with me in my house today in Stockwell, London. I deal in antique textiles from Africa and Asia. So I found this house after moving from a different area. I started to look in this area. I'd lived in South London before and I was looking in a square just over the way, and then this house came on the market and it was perfect size. I live in the gardens, which are incredibly quiet. There's no through traffic. In fact, it's probably quieter than the countryside. It's on a beautiful garden square, which is planted, which we'll hopefully look at later. And I've lived here for about 14 years with my husband and our 3 daughters. My house, you enter, and unlike a lot of London houses where you enter the front door and the staircase is straight in front of you, this house rather charmingly enters and looks straight through the house to the garden. And to be able to come to the staircase, you turn to the right and you'll see the staircase which travels up against the back wall, which is rather beautiful, and there's a window halfway up on the staircase, which is also a lovely feature and lets light in. There is a basement flat, which we have kept as a flat. A lot of people make their kitchens in the basement flats, but because we have this extension at the back, we've been using that as a kitchen instead. The rest of the period of the house is reflected in the beautiful windows, large windows, and the shutters, which are the original shutters on those windows. So we don't need curtains as much as perhaps some other houses. And we go upstairs and there are 4 bedrooms. We're going to see the master bedroom today and the dressing room next door and the ensuite bathroom. So this is my hallway. The front door was behind you, and you come in, and I have hung a vintage Suzani, which is from Central Asia. These you see a lot of these on the market, and I don't buy them very often because the market's flooded with them, and I tend to buy older textiles. But I bought this because I like the colours so much, and I like this oval shape, which is a little bit like an eye. And I also felt that it kind of talked to the flat weave, the kilim on the floor, the runner. So these floors I painted quite a neutral colour, and I painted the white on the walls so that the pieces can really speak for themselves against a neutral background. I put the radiators in, the beautiful old radiators, because it's an old house, it can be chilly. And then coming over here, this is from my father-in-law, David Tomlinson, and this piece here. So this is by an artist called Scotty Wilson, and my father-in-law and his wife visited Scotty Wilson. He was an artist, a British artist, and an illustrator, and he illustrated a lot of ceramic pieces as well. It's quite hard to find his work now. These watercolours are quite kind of childlike and strange, and kind of amusing, and just from his imagination, curious. So we're moving through now to the turning right, and this is what I was saying earlier about the staircase coming down at the side of the house, which is what makes it really lovely. And the door to the basement is here below it, so it's all very neatly done. Here's another piece from my father-in-law. This is an Indian painting. I don't know much about it, but I absolutely love it. And I have an Indian client coming tomorrow, so perhaps I'll ask him a little bit about it. It's obviously a fighting scene of some kind. And then we turn here to an Indian textile that I've recently hung, which I think also speaks to the flat weave. So this is a dowry shawl, a wedding shawl, and it's called from the Shekhawati community of India. And this is all, it looks woven, but it's actually embroidered, all of this work here. And in fact, when I was ironing it, I discovered that there was a tiny bead which somebody has rather charmingly, let me see if I can feel it now, there, has added into the embroidery, which is really curious. So now we're going to go into the sitting room, and again, I've left white, and the way I've decorated is that, this is quite a changeable feast, but it started with a few pieces, and then I've added more and more as I've collected, and more from my previous houses as well. Let me start, the shelves made sense because I needed to find somewhere to display all my pieces. The baskets, because I collect basket work from Africa and Asia, so those are some there. The sacred cow I brought back from India, which was quite a feat, and really beautiful, from Cochin on the west coast of India. And then this is part of a collection of pieces. This is by a photographic studio called Bonfils. Bonfils were very early pioneers of outdoor photography, traveling in the Middle East and photographing the archaeological sites. So this is a photo of the Sphinx before it was excavated. And you see it's very relaxed with these characters standing around, not really very reverently, and sitting around it with the donkey there. And that's probably dated around early 1900s, if not slightly earlier than that. This piece is part of a skirt, so it's a panel from Timor. This is an ikat weave with indigo, so all of these threads would have had to be tied off. It's very skilled, time-consuming work. The mirror. So the mirror has travelled with me from house to house. The mirror is just, I love it. It's a tailor's mirror, so you can see both sides open up, so you would try a garment on, be able to see the different parts of it from the different angles of the mirror. I think it makes an excellent fireplace mirror. And then various pieces here. This is a very collectible textile. These are really hard to find. They're Cameroon hats. They've been crocheted in this most extraordinary way. And this is a lovely faded example with the indigo again, and the strange little holes, and then the bobbles. Really wonderful. So this is a kind of textile that I'm keeping, because some people come here to visit me, and quite often they ask me what's for sale and what's not. But generally, the pieces in my home, in this room, are for keeping. And then we have some, this piece. This piece is really quite special. So this is from Sumatra. You'll see another of these upstairs without the gold printing. So these have been made as kind of simple panels, and they were shawls, and then this one has been overprinted with block printing in gold leaf and gold paste. I've had this mounted, which makes it look really smart, and that is from probably about 1900. This is my husband's very large television, because he's in the film industry and he needs to see lots of films, so I've covered this with the textile. Not all the time, obviously. And here we have another Scotty Wilson, lovely illustration, watercolour. And above it, I don't know whether you've seen one of these before, this is a mobile globe. So it's quite curious, which is why I bought it, because I'd never seen another like it. So this folds up like an umbrella and fits in a tube, and you can then transport it and open it to study the world, fold it up again. And then moving round, an ikat. So this is an ikat from Central Asia, silk woven, same technique as the Timor. So it's been tie and dyed, and it's quite skilled. So that's a panel from quite a rare type of design, which is why there's only a panel left. Another Scotty Wilson, and then I have some ceramics by a friend, Michaela Gall. And I particularly like those couple here and probably around the house elsewhere. She does a lot of majolica work, which is the cream-coloured white background, and then the traditional colours of the greens, the reds and the blues. In this cabinet, I started collecting mocha ware a long time ago, probably in my 20s. So mocha ware has actually become quite trendy now, but it is, I like the image of the tree. So the mocha ware here, so this is a rarer one where it's blown sideways, but most of the time mocha ware is blown, it's tobacco and urine mixed together, which is blown into the glaze, which gives this kind of separate tree-like appearance. So these were used in pubs in England. And so they have their different measurements. So here's one that says a pint. There it is, a pint. And some of them are also stamped with the year. There's another with a pint. Some are stamped with a year. This one's got probably the pub's name. Can't quite read that, HLS, but I can't read the small writing. Anyway, so I have collected those for a long time. I really love them, and I think you have them in America too. So here, this piece is Japanese. I don't buy so many Japanese textiles, partly because they don't come here very often. I don't see them in this country very often other than kimonos. This piece, I went to a dealer's house and she said, look, I've got bags and bags of pieces to look through, have a look and see what you can find, pull out anything. I've just got this stuff to get rid of for somebody. I'm selling their old collection. And I looked through and I found this scrunched up piece of silk with some pattern on it. And I tried to flatten it out and look at it and realised it was rather beautiful and special. So I felt that it needed kind of being saved. So I took it to my restorer, my conservator, and she has done the most beautiful job. So we've had this stretched and mounted, and now you can really appreciate the skill of the painting, the stencil work on this piece. Above it is another bonfils. And the domed piece is Victorian shell work. I mean, completely mad. So this piece I've recently hung. I don't normally, as I say, buy anything other than African and Asian, and then occasionally European. This piece I bought probably about 6 months, a year ago, because I saw it in a photograph. I didn't handle it. I just saw the amazing, amazing work in the photograph and bought it. And it's the first time that I hung it because I needed to take some photos of it. And it's such a big piece, I needed a big wall. And then I thought it was so amazing, I've kept it up. And it's Victorian, and it's made from dress silks. And it even has this little scallop around the edge. I mean, somebody has spent so much time, care and love on this amazing patchwork. I know that patchworks are big in America. And since buying this, I've actually started to follow a lot of American dealers who deal in patchwork. I mean, really just to admire your skills in your country. It's absolutely amazing. So I've really enjoyed this new area of textiles. Below it, as a contrast, this is an airway cloth. So this is from Ghana. These cloths were worn by the community, by the men in the community, and they'd wrap them round, these big robes, they'd wrap them round them, and they're strip woven, and apparently they don't have a plan when they make them. So they weave the strips and then place them together. And this one is particularly interesting colours, really lovely colours, great balance, really sophisticated, just kind of the layout, the technique. And they're very good for covering sofas, for beds, and even for curtains. They're really, really wonderful, vivid, beautiful things. And so I thought I quite like the contrast with the patchwork. The cushions I've started to make cushions, or have them made, and so started to design them. The cushions have been made from smaller pieces of antique textiles. So this one is actually Chinese with some Peking stitch and knots. This one is from the Banjara people of India. And this one is from Rajasthan with the mirror work. You often have this with the silk. And I think they're rather charming. And on the back, I've mixed them with some European linens, some French silk, and another linen that I found that was a part of an apron. That's kind of, and then here, this is, again, my father-in-law's rather charming painting. I mean, it looks French. I don't know very much about it, although he did. Hold on, let's have a quick peek. He did, yes, look. He was very good at this. So he bought from the Crane Carman Gallery in Knightsbridge. He bought a lot of his artwork there because he was friends with them. His wife, Henry's mother, knew them very well, and they all became friends and went on holidays together. And so he's written here, pastoral, circa 1906, then the artist, Lucien Mancio, and then purchased, wrote this, David Tomlinson, Esquire, on the 10th of November, 1959. So it's very nice to have this kind of historic record of what he collected and when. Above it is a really interesting patchwork by a contemporary patchwork maker in London. And she lives locally, so when I bought this, she came around and we chatted for a while, and she talked about her patchwork. She now runs classes, and it's really sweet, the way it just goes back and back and back until this central piece is left, like you're looking down a tunnel. This piece is Cuba cloth. I think Cuba cloths have been on the market as much as the Suzanis that I was talking about earlier. They're kind of flooded, but this one I bought a long, long time ago, and a friend of mine who is a framer, I asked her to think of a frame, and she put this on, which I think really works. And so this is one that I have left. We call them old friends in the antiques business when you haven't quite sold some of your old stock, and so it becomes an old friend, and that's part of the charm of it. So the table I bought at a decorative antiques fair, Battersea Decorative Antiques Fair, which I used to exhibit at, and now I do the vetting there for the textiles. And this I bought quite a while ago, and then there's some ceramics that I collect. It's a very old Moroccan mug, and then some Chinese ceramics. This is Delft work, Delft ceramics, and then another Delft piece, and some baskets. This is a Moroccan lantern, which I haven't found a place to hang yet, so it's sitting here for now. And George Smith sofa, always very comfortable. The dog spends most of its time on this one, though, unfortunately. And some more cushions from Homemade. And then a cabinet here. The cabinet houses more textiles, and it's rather charming with, again, basket work on it. I mean, you know, if I'm going to be a basket collector, I may as well find furniture that has basket work on it. So that's for there. And then I think this African hat, some baskets from, I think they're from Sumatra, which have tiny, tiny little white beads. And these are from East Africa. I like the swords because, the spears, because of the top look like leaves with the spine down them. So the lighting in this room, I didn't want to put downlighters in because that's not really traditional to this house, and I felt that it's quite comfortable for entertaining to have lights on side tables, lamps. So I just had one large area to fill here, and this is very traditional to Habitat. Habitat was a company, an interiors company that started here. Terence Conran started it. And I think it just about exists. But Habitat bought these very Japanese-looking paper lanterns, which were in so many people's homes in the UK in the 60s and 70s. And you know, they're concertina. And when I was moving here, I looked up online to find the biggest one I could. And of course, it arrived in a huge box, but flat. And there we are. It's still here. And sometimes I think about painting it with some calligraphy of some kind. Some red calligraphy would be rather beautiful, or gestures of some kind onto it. So perhaps that's for the next house. So did I mention I'm selling this house? So this one is this little lamp here. I'll show you the base. This, again, was from my father-in-law and mother-in-law, and there's a pair of them, and I found some block-printed Indian lampshades that I could fit it, and then I kind of put this trim on. This one is the same. So this base here is carved from India. I don't think it has much age, but it's rather amazing that they've managed to do this in one piece. And again, up to the top, and the same block print, Indian block print, which is quite nice with the Indian base. So one of the things about this fire is that it's a gas fire. So it's not that much of a feature in summertime. So when we're not using it, I place these pieces in here. So this is a bronze Japanese vase. And it took me some time to realise, in fact, that it had handles, I think, that were probably just came out here, which somebody had removed, which I don't mind. Actually, I think it's quite a beautiful shape of its own. And then below that, this is an Ashanti stool. And this I bought some time ago at a market. And the carving is just lovely. Really, really lovely. I don't know what the wood is. I presume it's an indigenous wood to the area in Nigeria. And that just seemed to kind of have a place there with that on. I think it's just jigging things around sometimes and then putting the guard back on there. There we go. So when I travel, I still travel sometimes. So I went to Vietnam and I bought this, which is a brush pot. I think it's actually from China, but I love the blue and white in it and the scene with the bird and the moon, or as it travels around, really lovely. So I brought that back. And this piece, again, is a lovely Chinese piece with the birds and beautiful urn. So that's an Indian. I used this Indian palmet across this window, which I think works quite well. And the curtains are just for show, because we again have the shutters here. But the curtains seem to go well with that, so they went up there. I'm not a great one for curtains, I have to say, which is strange because I have so many textiles that could be curtains, but maybe the next house I'll concentrate on that a bit more. When I bought the house, it was quite empty. The people who lived here before, who were absolutely lovely and held a party for us before we moved in to meet the neighbours, they'd empty out a lot of the house. It was very simple, and it was slightly dated. So the kitchen, which we'll visit later, the kitchen we have renovated totally. That was once an art studio, and the bathroom we also renovated, which we'll visit upstairs. And then I have painted most of the rooms a blank canvas, kind of white or grey, because that's the backdrop to most of my collection. And I changed some carpets. Other than that, it's pretty much in its original state when it was built. So I think I've just about talked about everything in this room, and I think we're going to go to the kitchen now. So it's along the corridor, and the kitchen, an extension that was built, you'll see later onto the house. I think it was built in the 1980s. So we'll walk this way. So here we are in my kitchen. I'm just entering now, and quick talk, more baskets. So a selection of baskets here, and then these African baskets on the floor, and then down to beginning to talk about what's on the walls here. So a lot of the art and ceramics in this house are made by friends. And this is an example of what I mean by this. Is by my best friend, who lives in Spain, and so I enjoy visiting her there. And this is, she's a food illustrator and painter. So this is a painting of different ingredients for a recipe of herbs. This is by a woman called Sophie McCarthy, who's a friend of Henry's, my husband's, and her family were very good friends with Henry's family, and she's an illustrator, and this is a piece that she made for Elizabeth David, the cook, for her cookbook. This is by my friend Gerda, who's a wonderful illustrator and my oldest friend in her 90s, and she's a fantastic painter. These I bought in Spain. We visit Spain quite often, and I found these really interesting plates. This is a Cuba cloth. So these Cuba cloths were dancing skirts. So that's a section of a dancing skirt which was embroidered by a number of different women, and they would originally be incredibly long, and they'd wrap them round and wrap them round. So there's a section of them, and the art is really beautiful and abstract, and very appealing for that reason. Above that is a Korean cloth. These are particularly hard to find, and they're made like window panes. I mean, it's transparent and it's patchwork together with this applique work. I mean, really skilled work. The tablecloth is from, I'm trying to remember what, it's an important shop in Sweden. So I went to Stockholm with a girlfriend because she was buying, she's an antique dealer as well, she was buying vintage art. And we went on a trip and we went to the shop, which I should remember the name of, I might have to look it up. And they have fantastic prints, which are really well known, and they have this check tablecloth, which I loved. They had so much pattern, and I really like the colours of it. So it's not antique, it's a new tablecloth. And yeah, I add whatever fruit and veg, and it all seems to kind of sit and merge into the colours that are there already. These are little cups here. They're from Spain, they're from Seville, and they're probably 18th century. Very sweet little cups. And above that is a painting by Toby Roche, who paints scenes in India particularly. And the other paintings we kind of collected along the way. So I'll talk about the kitchen. The kitchen was built in the 1980s, and it was built for a family who must have had the kitchen in the basement at the time. And so they used this as an art studio because they were apparently restorers for the Tate Gallery. And so they needed the north light and a lot of light, which is, you know, to benefit to us. And they moved on, next people moved on, and they made it into a kitchen. And then when we bought it, we made it into this kitchen, which we started in lockdown, which was quite difficult to do remotely, but we managed it somehow. I had some friends to dinner, and they hadn't been here before, and the husband's an architect, and he sat down and he looked around and he said, "I can't believe it. This is the kitchen I designed as my first job when I came out of architectural college." And so we kind of teased him a bit because it was actually totally over-designed. We have removed some of his excessive design to it, which we've tried to kind of minimise a bit, and he didn't mind at all. So this is the space that we have now. We chose this kitchen from a showroom and made it work somehow, jiggled it around because we were on a budget, and we had the tops made separately, and we found the Aga on eBay and went and collected that and had it taken apart and then reinstalled, and here it is now. So the Aga provides lovely warmth in winter as well as cooking on the other part, which is the gas part, in summer. And then we put in cupboards over there, cabinets, more basket work, and more basket work there with cubas again. So now we have this beautiful kitchen. It means that we very rarely go in the sitting room if we're entertaining, because people tend to kind of come in here and they stand around the island. My husband's cooking, he cooks for the family and friends. So he's cooking, we're standing here, some people are on the stools, some people have already sat down, and then we sit here and entertain, possibly add more chairs as well to fit everyone round. And this is a kind of hub, and then in the summer we tend to do the same outside, and so it's easy to just bring everything straight out on one floor, and we enjoy this room a lot. My design style, as you'll see around the house, is definitely not less is more. I'm definitely a collector. I enjoy looking and observing and touching, handling textiles, ceramics and other artifacts. Also around the house are pieces that I inherited from my husband's father. My husband's father was a collector himself. He was an actor called David Tomlinson, and he was in Mary Poppins. He was the father, Mr. Banks, in Mary Poppins and a number of other films. So I'll point out the collections that he has left to us, which are interesting actually. Quite different from our taste, but they fit in well. So I'm introducing you to my garden because I really like gardening, and this garden, as I think I said earlier, is a really good size because we've got the seating area here, and we really use this, and particularly my children use it with all their friends and come and entertain here. And you know, the table we can use, put food on the table, and then there's also a lawn and an area just through here where unfortunately it's not sunny enough today, but we also sit out here, lounge out here, and the lawn, and then you know the plants that are growing here. It's so quiet, and you can just hear the birds singing. It's so quiet. And then I've put it up for the spring here. So we've got the tulips, hostas coming, hellebores, and grape hyacinths, lavender, and lots of ferns. And then this, which is absolutely delicious, the smell of it. Mock orange, very nice. And then I put some sedums on here and some ferns and geraniums this side, hostas, ferns. There's kind of a theme going on of plants I like, and a rather mad mix of what I could find left over in tulips because I planted them rather late. So the colours are kind of quite wild. So that's, and then of course we light it at night with the little light bulbs. Fun. We use this space most of the summer when it's good weather. Yeah. And we put, again, more chairs around the table and entertain here. And it's quiet. I think I've lived in quite a few houses, and I've made gardens in each house I've been to. The house before this was in Notting Hill, and I made a garden there. And then when I came here, the garden was kind of laid out already. And so I felt that my footprint really was to add the seating area, the potted area, and then also we have a sculpture that I haven't mentioned, which is by a friend called Julian Wilde. So we bought the sculpture from him, and he's a London-based sculptor, and his work is now in Docklands and various places. And so we placed that in the middle of the lawn, and we felt that kind of added form to just an quite empty area. With my work, I started by going to art school and studying textile design. I specialise in constructed textiles, which is knitted and woven. I then worked in the fashion industry and fashion forecasting for a period of time. But I'd been influenced by a friend of mine's mother, who was quite bohemian, and she was a weaver as well, and she had travelled in India a lot. And I really, really wanted to travel. So after a while of working in the fashion industry, I then decided to leave and see a bit of the world. So I went to Indonesia first, then India, and that's when I started buying antique textiles. And I would come back and sell them, and then continue to travel and bring pieces back and do odd jobs in between. And then I started to build up my business that way. And now that is 40 years on, and I've kind of come full circle. I, in fact, don't travel very much anymore, but we can talk about that later. So this is my office, which I share with my husband. He gets the view out of the window, and I really get the rest of the office. So the office is inhabited now by huge amounts of textiles, and my basket collection, some of my basket collection, my library of books, reference books for my textiles, and another, here, this is a spine bookcase, which is really useful for stacking the books on. And then because notoriously, of course, we all have a problem with moth in our homes, it made sense to buy cabinets and be able to put the textiles away safely and keep them moth-free. So I have interior designers come to see me. Tomorrow I have a collector from India who has opened a museum in India. So he's coming to see what I have that might go into the museum. I have some fabric designers who come to see me. So Nina Campbell came to see me, and she brought her two designers, the print designer she brought, and she brought the weave designer, so that they could look at textiles and interpret them for her collections. And so that's the way it works. So here, for instance, these are wool-based textiles from around the world. So we start at the top, Moroccan, and then other pieces, Jajim, Turkish, Swedish, Tibetan. I'm just covering the world, again, Moroccan, and then we have Paisley from Scotland, Kashmiri, Moroccan, American, which you'll recognise, and then down to Jajims from Persia. And so these are these would make door curtains, some of them, furnishings, ottoman covers. This is what people tend to buy them for, the bigger pieces. Even I was talking about fashions earlier. Even some pieces that just fall out of fashion. So these are Paisleys here, which are so intricately woven, and French shawls as well, and they're just not fashionable at the moment, which is ridiculous, because they're the most beautiful cloths. And so these, I just carry one or two of them, hoping that someone will realise their beauty before it comes back into fashion. And then we go to this pile, which is, these are Indian textiles predominantly, and Central Asian, mainly Indian. So I was talking about pulkaris earlier, and talking about the green one that I've just found, which I haven't bought yet, incidentally, so I can't show it to you. I just saw it online last night. So this is a pulkari. This is a traditional pulkari. So these are fashionable. I mean, look at that, though. Look at the sheen of that. So these are worked by women, and they're again used for weddings. And this is silk floss stitch thread, which has been painstakingly, and it's not woven, it's all embroidered, painstakingly, and look at the sheen. So what have I written at the Chada? Silk floss stitch, known as a bagh or garden, from Pakistan and mid-20th century. It's quite a lot to remember every textile and every ethnic group from around the world. So sometimes I have to have a nudge by looking at the label again. So these are hugely popular. I'll leave that one there for now. And then we move across to here, for instance. Now in here, these are more offbeat textiles and fibrous textiles, for instance. So Madagascar has amazing silk textiles, very, very collectible, extremely rare, called lambas. But they also have fibrous textiles. So these are from Madagascar, which are just wonderfully, tightly woven, really beautiful raffia pieces. Again, kind of appealing to a basket collector. And then other pieces, and then there's tapa bark cloth, which is from the Pacific Islands, which is quite curious. And you can really see where the Keith Haring, the artist, gained some of his inspiration. So I also exhibit at tribal art fairs with more of these tribal pieces. And I'll leave that there. And then if we go back round here, this is a pile of textiles from Africa. I showed you the Ewe cloth, which is on the sofa next door. So these are more Ewes here. And then Africa is fantastic on indigo. So lots of beautiful indigo cloths come from Africa, West Africa. And then this piece on the top here is one of my favourites because again, when I mentioned earlier, what's exciting to me is to find something that I've not seen before. And after 40 years, that's unusual. But this piece I found, and I was really excited by it. It's a wax batik, and then it's been dyed, over-dyed, and it still has a slightly oilcloth feel to it. But it's absolutely wonderful. The drawing is quite fine on it and quite characterful. It's from Nigeria. It's a wrapping cloth from the 1960s, and it's one of my favourites at the moment. And then here, this pile is my kind of new sidling off to more European textiles area. So I've bought tickings. So I bought this ticking the other day. This is a really, really unusual colourway. This wonderful kind of yellowy pistachio colour. I mean, really wonderful, with this almost blue-purple. Absolutely lovely. I mean, I can see this as covering a series of chairs or being copied because it's such an appealing fabric by a fabric house, or making cushions. I mean, really wonderful. These are the most recent textiles I bought, so I get excited by the recent ones as well. This is Eastern European, really lovely weight of checked linen, woven in two, so the loom was this wide, and then joined with a charming cross stitch down the middle, and then that embroidery cross stitched. I have a client who is thinking of making a skirt from it, which would be amazing, really amazing. And then, what else have we got here? These, I buy a lot of these when I find them because they're slightly connected to childhood. These are Indian block prints from the 60s that in my childhood, along with the paper lantern from Habitat next door, this was also something that was part of a kind of theme of us growing up. These were used as tablecloths or picnic blankets. I mean, really wonderful, muted colours now, often having been washed and worn and enjoyed, kept for years. Really beautiful. So these are block printed from Rajasthan, and I have a kind of small collection of them because I think they're just lovely. And as a contrast, this is a kind of more refined, much more refined version. Again, block printed. Let me hold it up the right way, with bote, which is this. Like the paisley is called a bote. So this is Indian, block printed, and for export. It might have been actually made in Iran for export to India from Kalamkari. But I mean, really pretty piece. And going back to patchwork, this is an applique. This is a very European, very English piece. I mean, so sweet. Little applique children's piece, and even with the little lacy edge to it. And I mean, some of the prints used are really charming. Sweet. So anyway, I could go on and on, showing you all the different fabrics and talking about why I like and enjoy them so much. I mean, you can understand, it's a very nice job to do. So I'm based in London, and I would invite anybody, if you're interested in textiles, to come and visit me. You'd be very, very welcome. I have a wealth, as you've seen, of textiles here. Please contact me by direct message. I sell on Instagram, and under the name Molly Hogg, HOGG _textiles, and you should find me and come visit. You'd be very welcome. So I'm going to talk to you now about the furniture that I've chosen for this room. I touched on the cabinet there, and for obvious reasons why I bought it. And then I was going to talk to you about this, which is the desk I work at, and I'm very privileged to sit at such a beautiful piece of furniture. So this also belonged to my father-in-law, David Tomlinson, and it's Egyptian Revival. So I think it's about 1870, and it's a kind of armoire, so it's a hidden desk. I mean, really, he admires it too. And it's just really lovely, and it houses a lot, and of course it conceals a lot, so you can just easily put everything away and then come out again, and it pulls right out, which I'm not going to do right now, but it's a lovely piece. This I bought for obvious reasons, for all the smalls that I've collected over the years. So the kind of idea of cabinet of curiosities. So I've bought quite a few tribal pieces, pieces from India, African pieces. So this is African here. This is from South America. These silver, that's Pacific Islands. Again, South America with the headdress, and Indian here, African little bronze figure. And these are rather amazing. Let me try and get this out. Time to tidy up. Incredible woven snake. And there's even somewhere in here, there's some cicadas that are woven as well. Not sure where they are now. I haven't been in here for a little bit. So, yes, so cabinet of curiosities it is. And here, this is a shell necklace. This is from cut Sipic shells and fibre, Papua New Guinea. I mean, the work that's gone into those is amazing. Really charming. So that's for another time to work my way through that. So when I'm looking for textiles, and I've been doing this, as I said, for a long time, for instance, last night I saw a textile in a colourway that I've never seen before in a group of textiles called pulkaris, which are from Pakistan. Pulkaris are in fashion, so remarkably enough, antiques go through fashions just like anything else, and textiles are part of that. And so pulkaris are in fashion, and to come across a green pulkari is very unusual. So that spurs me on to really what I'm looking for is finding something either that's the best example of its kind, or it's something that I've never seen before. So it's incredibly original and beautiful at the same time. I'm always looking at condition because I sell to a lot of Americans who like things in good condition. And I sell to a lot of interior designers who also have their customers and clients who like pieces to exhibit and show in their homes. So they need pieces that are also reflecting kind of the best of their kind. I buy from Africa and Asia, West Africa, and I also buy from North Africa. East Africa is not so creative in terms of textiles. And then Asia I buy predominantly from Indonesia and India, Pakistan, some Thai, not so many Vietnamese or Cambodian, and also some Central Asian. A few Chinese as well, but less of the imperial pieces, more of the indigo country pieces. So we're leaving this room now, and we're going to go upstairs and see my dressing room, my bedroom, and my little bathroom. We've come this way and go up the sideways staircase. And as we go up, I'll talk about the pieces that are on the wall here. So coming up the stairs, I'm going to talk about what I've hung here, which is more of the Bonfils studio. I'm sure, I think these are in Syria, sadly not there anymore. I think these are identifiable, I just haven't found out where yet. And then this piece here, this is by a textile artist called Ptolemy Mann, and she's a British textile artist. Her work is amazing, and it's all ikat. So this is, again, that technique that I was talking about, which is tie-dyed. And I think she paints on the loom as well. So she paints on the weft threads, no, the warp threads, which are running vertically. And her work is quite large scale. Now, she approached me because I had some ikat textiles that she liked, and I like her work. So what's quite nice is we did a swap, and I'm thrilled with mine, and hopefully she is with hers. And so now, Chinese table and an ikat. No, this is a beautiful cloth. Again, with this kind of tree symbol. This is from Indonesia. From which island? Let's just have a look. Everything's got a label on. From Sumatra, from the Bengkulu people. And it's early 20th century. Absolutely wonderful work. This painting was Henry's father's. I'm not convinced by her, but she's painted by an artist called Lagar, and we have a few of his paintings. And then we go into my dressing room. So the dressing room is also a spare bedroom, and the bateau lit, which is the French bateau lit here. I was visiting France many, many years ago on one of my first trips, on a road trip, and I stayed in an English B&B, and they had this bed. They had a couple of them. And I asked if they would be interested in selling them, and they sold me this one. And then I had it upholstered with some African cloth for the bed heads, the bed ends. And I think it works really well. I've put on it, this is a beautiful Vichy, French Vichy checked, the most glorious linen. And this is in its original state. So I think it goes quite well with the French bed to have this French linen on it. This piece here is, when I was downstairs and talking about the piece that had the gold print on it, this is how it originally looked. So it's very abstract. And these pieces have been compared to Mark Rothko paintings. There was an exhibition in New York many years ago where somebody had gone to Sumatra and collected these, and they were head shawls, head veils, and they came, in that time he managed to find, you can't find them so easily now, he found them in a number of different colours, and he held an exhibition in New York with them just placed on the walls, and it looked like a Mark Rothko exhibition. And that started the craze for them. And they are very beautiful and very zen. And this is one, and then I like the one with the gold actually better, but these are very popular because of their abstract quality. This is a painting by a triptych by a friend of Henry's. She gave it to us for our 60th. And then this was a present from a client. This is from Syria. It's beautiful work. And I was very grateful to the client who I helped buy her textiles for 18 months. She was performing a collection for her new house. And so I was able to buy her, I had a license, a free license to buy her anything that I thought would suit the house and would be just beautiful for the collection to put together. And it was a really fantastic, exciting project. And at the end of it, she gave me this beautiful coat. Family photos, small baskets, and then this is a Moroccan, particularly nice shades of the greens, which has a tinge of yellow to it. Another cushion that's been made with old ticking on the back, and a piece from Central Asia on the front. And then we'll move around. A beautiful mirror that I bought at Battersea Decorative Antiques Fair again. Highly recommend it for good furniture. So that's been here for a little while. And I like the fireplace as well. The original fireplace to this room is absolutely lovely. Moroccan carpet. At one time I used to sell a lot of carpets. And then everybody started buying Moroccan carpets and everybody started dealing in them. So I kind of moved on. Some of my own clothes here, some of my bag collection. And then we go to this side here where we have a beautiful, really stunning Japanese kimono, all embroidered with rich embroidery of peonies and butterflies, and just lovely. and it's padded, and it's from I'll read the label. It's from a store called A. Leader & Co., 1910, and it's chrysanthemums, not peonies, and butterflies lined in pale pink silk, tassels to cuffs. And there they are, tassels. Absolutely lovely. This piece I have a crush on. It's a new piece that I bought recently. I absolutely love. It's Central Asian, but it's a really, really amazing colour combination. And these pieces look particularly good when displayed fully like this. So there's a project that I'm going to get involved in, which is in the summer, and it's a private house, and they want me to find them textiles again. And I'm thinking of buying a group of these to hang across a wall. It's a big, grand house, so they've got lots of room for it. So that'll be exciting, because I think that would just be really striking, really powerful. So we're going to my bedroom next door now. So this is my bedroom. I hardly recognise it, it's so tidy. I want to talk about the textiles on the bed first of all, because they are the textiles in the room. I have, as a bottom cover, I have a basket weave airway cloth, which is quite light and lovely, lovely indigo. On top of that, I have a Suzani. This is an early Suzani. This is probably about 1900s or earlier. It's quite battered, but I don't mind because the colours are absolutely beautiful. It's had some rudimentary work done to it. I don't think it matters too much because it's the overall impression, which is this kind of flower garden. It's really pretty. Some cushions that I've had made, which have Chinese, no, this is actually Parsi ribbon. It looks like Chinese embroidery, but it's actually Parsi, which is Indian embroidery. And they make this embroidery in strips, and I put these strips together and put them on some early French apron ticking, and then some French ticking on the back as well. Another Bonfils piece of a port harbour. And then, this was my father-in-law's. So this is 17th century embroidery, and it's stump work where they make it into a kind of 3D effect. So the fruits 3D have their faces of 3D. It's a kind of royal piece. It was made by women of the court, and you can see the Tudor roses and the lion, and little charming. There's a little snake there. Really lovely. So here, these pieces are I picked up in an antique shop. I quite like the quality, this kind of fine lines. These are plans of gardens for stately homes. So this one is here, is the Right Honourable the Earl of Cholmondeley. So that is Holcombe Hall and their garden. And I think this one's Nottingham, somewhere in Nottingham. Anyway, I just think they're rather charming. And the tiny little rendition of trees, vegetables, the different shapes of the planting and the plants is really lovely. Nice early Georgian chair, a bit shaky. The cabinet's a bit of a what do they call it? I'm trying to remember in the antiques world, they call it a marriage, where you've got something that is original and then it's been put with something that isn't. So you've got a chinoiserie cabinet, and then they've made a new stand for it, and I think a new top, which doesn't bother me too much because I'm not much of a purist in that way. It's about the visual appearance, and I quite like the way it looked. So that's why I bought that. This is South American. I don't buy many South American textiles. This I bought because it's fun and it actually fits on here, and it can bring some colour in the room as well. Another basket and a strange mirror, which I think has been handmade. You can see the thumbprints in there. This again is a kind of childhood memory. We couldn't put a light here of any significance because my husband's very tall, so we had to kind of bring it across here. And it kind of was a marriage again of opportunities, because I found this, and this reminds me of again of the kind of 60s Indian block print and quite charming as a lampshade. Fireplace, actually we did all of this. I did do this when I moved in. I kind of did the raised fireplace and the shelves we had made, and they seem to work quite well. So here, this is the most recent buy. I bought this painting recently online and absolutely thrilled when it arrived. It's really beautiful. In fact, when I did a Google image search, John Singer Sargent came up. There's no way I believe it to be his, but it's in the style of, which is rather beautiful. Here are a pair of monastic Tibetan candlesticks. I just love the form of them. Very beautiful. And this is a collection my grandparents started. So these are from a ceramics business that was started or resurrected by Picasso. It's in the south of France, and it's called Vallauris. So Picasso moved close to Vallauris during the war, and the place was suffering from lack of business, and so he started making his ceramics there. And this group were made not by Picasso, by an artist called Gabino, and he placed tiny bits of clay together to give this kind of mosaic effect. And my grandparents visited there, and they bought 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and then I've sourced some more. And it's nice to have that connection. Then if we move along here, this is a basket. I bought a pair of these, but I only really needed one. So this is one I still have, and I think this is from, I think Cambodia or somewhere like that. I mean, beautifully made, really lovely. Then more basket work, jewellery, tribal jewellery, and a couple of pictures that belong to my father-in-law. One I almost threw away at the bottom. He didn't give it to me, it was left in a group of pieces, and then realised how delicate and beautiful it is. And then we finish up going round here, and some plates that my mother-in-law gave me, which I don't know much about, but I love the tiny, tiny design on them, the amount of work. Also in this room, moved from my previous home, I brought these lovely lights with their porcelain shades, which are just extraordinary because they have continued to work. I've never changed a light bulb, and they give beautiful light, really lovely. I'm not sure whether I'll move them to my next house as well, because they're just so lovely. Most of what I buy is old, antique, recycled, upcycled, including my clothes, my textiles, my furniture. So the tables in here are Indian, and these were used, they're foldable. So the top lifts off and the bases fold in concertina, so they were easy to travel with. So these are quite popular in interior design schemes. Robert Keim used to use those. So both I had some of these and Henry had some of these, so we kind of merged our collection together. Now we're going to go into the bathroom. So moving into my bathroom, as I was just finishing off saying that most of what I have is old or antique or whatever I found. So this is a table. This is called the Stork Table. It's by Merrill Oppenheim, and she was a designer in the 1930s. And so it has these stork feet and then the imprint of the feet on top of the table. Mine in this case there's the imprint there, needs to be have a little more gold leaf put back on it because it's been loved. And next to that is a little Fornazetti plate with a hand on it that I've had for years, which makes a very good soap dish. And then if we come round here, we have another painting by my friend Gerda. We have a selection of ceramics that I like. So this is by a ceramicist whose exhibition I went to in Chelsea, and he was very interesting to talk to. His name's Ian Thompson, and I feel that it's very Asian influenced, really beautifully made. This is by a friend, Awana Miller, and she is always coming up with new quirky things and exhibits in London. This was a present, and I don't know who the ceramicist was, but it's very nice with the pinched pot shape there. This is Moroccan, very traditionally Moroccan. and then a very fine porcelain bowl that holds a lot of my shell collection from my travels abroad that I've collected over the years. Various shells found on beaches, and another piece with texture here that was a present. So I'm going to introduce you to the exterior of my house. The house was built, all the houses in these gardens were built between 1840 and 1890. And each of them has a specific style. I mean, the rumour is that the builder wanted to show his skill of architectural design, and so he made these beautiful houses. So my house is twin to the one next door, I think I mentioned earlier. So now you can see it from the outside. They both have these beautiful bow windows, and the glass, in fact, is also blown specially or created specially in a mould with that curve at vast expense, I'll have to say, because I've just replaced it. And here is the front garden with the railings. The railings were taken away and used and melted down in the war effort. So the railings have been added later, or replaced later, and the same with the gardens opposite. And here I've planted my garden full of tulips and alliums and poppies to come and some daisies to come, and there's a wonderful peony that's just opening for you because, as I said, it's spring here. So we go up and into the house through my front door with Molly and Henry above. Home to me is a place which is a family place where family and friends visit. Home to me is also somewhere that I have enjoyed decorating, and I look at the pieces each time I return because I go away quite a lot. I go to the east coast of England, to the countryside, and then I also return here and still enjoy looking at my collections and people coming round, and we talk about them or not. We entertain a lot, we eat a lot. My husband's a very good cook, and all of this is enjoyable in our house here.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.